Are you ready to turn your speaking into a more profitable marketing strategy? Then you're going to love my limited series podcast, Public Speaking Monetization Tips. In each short, actionable episode, I share insider strategies to help you land more speaking opportunities, attract your ideal clients, and confidently sell from the stage without ever feeling salesy. So if you're ready to get booked, seen, and paid, search for public speaking monetization tips on your favorite podcast app and start listening today. Welcome back to Be in Demand. Today's speaker breakthrough session is a powerful one. I am going to be talking with Abigail, whose work centers around something that most of us avoid: death. But her mission is about dying better, making conscious choices about how we want to leave this life so that it aligns with our values and our wishes. She already has a book on this topic, and in this session, we are exploring how to turn her unique expertise into a signature speech that will open the doors to industries and event planners to be eager for her message. And if you have ever wondered what it would be like to craft your own client attracting talk, stick around to the end and you can find out how you can book your very own speaker breakthrough session. Abigail, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. I'm so happy to meet you. Have this time with you.
Well, I'm excited to spend some time with you. Can you tell me and the audience a little bit about who you are and who you help?
Yes, I am really concerning myself with making sure people die better. And as a registered nurse and also as a professional that's worked at not only the nursing bedside level, but also in the executive director level, I have learned so much over the last 20 years working in the hospital. And then 15 of those years of my medical experience has been in hospice and palliative care. And I think by this point, people are like, maybe it doesn't apply to me, not really that interested. But I also take a bit of a different approach. I do like to have people to be really well informed and also have tangible ways that they can understand and apply their knowledge and skills to a better death for themselves or for their loved one. So, what recently my little heart project has been, my little labor of love has been my book, where it has been help caregivers, where it's called everybody's doing it, so let's die better, but it's a 31-day companion for caregivers facing the final chapter with their loved one. And I only bring that up because yes, it's out, but I really look at simple ways in 31 days for you to be able to make sure that your loved one has a better death. It's something we're all going to do. It's something we all have in common. I think it's the thing that levels the playing field more than anybody. So yes, I really want to make sure, because you're probably going to only do it once for most people, that we get it right.
That's kind of in the speaking world, we say the more they laugh, the more money you make.
Oh, okay.
And like most people will say like, hey, like death and taxes are the only things that are guaranteed. And for you to
Right.
say, you're probably only going to do it one. I mean, that's true.
Yeah. You do have the ones we know in the fancy, shows on TV where the cute doctor jumps in the bed and does chest compressions, and then, the respiratory therapist he's been having an affair with comes in and they help and the patient becomes alive again. So there's that. But for the most part, yes, we're doing it once. We got to get it right for sure.
Right,
Yeah.
right. And I guess one of the things that comes to mind for me is not everybody gets to decide what that is like. As I'm hearing you speak, I'm thinking, okay, cancer, some sort of long-term illness. But my hunch is that may not be entirely true, because you can have a car accident that you are in the hospital for a few days. So interesting. So what other situations could somebody
There
plan?
are so many, and it could be also just getting older and someone who maybe has been living with some chronic conditions, and something like a fall all of a sudden happens. And now we're looking at a trajectory up going from here all the way down. For someone who can't see, I'm just going from the top of the page to the bottom, where, their functional abilities really take a dive.
Yeah.
and someone can die within hours to just days.
Right.
And the whole reason we have the conversations now is we want to have them outside of those chaotic moments, because those chaotic moments are charged with so much emotion. You're not thinking clearly. And my main message for anybody to get out of just the whole dying better thing is that we do have some agency
Mm.
over how we die. We don't have total control. That's an illusion. But we do have some amount of agency over what our end of life can look like. But we have to put in a little bit of time before we get there.
This is such an interesting topic. So thank you very much for signing up for a speaker
Oh,
breakthrough session. This is not something I've ever covered before
okay.
on one of these shows. So what now that I understand what you do, what would you
Mhm.
like to get out of our time together?
I well, I would really like to hone in on a topic for a signature speech and something to really direct me to that, because even though while I did speak in my career over 20 years, mostly to um, many times to medical people, but also to caregivers, I'd like to really be able to use something as my signature speech, to continue to make more connections, more referrals, more testimonials, things like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So who do you want to talk to?
I want to talk to people outside of the clinical world, outside of the medical world, because the medical world, yes, they're very well versed. A lot of them have a lot of information and experience. Even then, we're not always as good at having the conversations with people who are not in the medical world.
Mm.
Mostly because we've been around it so long, we may not always know how to speak the language of someone outside of it. And also, this is happening to everybody. So I really want the person who is outside this regular day to day medical world to feel like they have the tools and to feel like they have some agency over what's going to happen at the end.
Okay. So who do you
Because I
want to
really
talk to?
believe.
So who do you want to talk to?
I think adults, I've been focusing, I've when I look at the caregivers and I always see mostly women. Women tend to be caregivers. They tend to assume that role. So
Mhm.
I have connected many times with women. And then with patients, I talk a lot to kind of the Medicare crowd, the people who are a little bit older.
Yeah.
But, it is something again that applies to everybody. So even if you are adult, even if you are a parent, if you start to get sick and if you haven't done your paperwork, and something happens, do your loved ones know what you really want? And are they capable of making those decisions on your behalf, for example, if something was to happen?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. What do you want speaking to do for you?
I would like for it to, I'm realistic. I know book sales don't make a lot of profit. So, but I really do, with the feedback that I've gotten, it seems like it's been a valuable book to the people who have read it so far. So I'd like for people to use that tool. I think it is very helpful. And I'd like for eventually to be able to collaborate with people more, maybe do some more workshops or some other types of conferences. So speaking, yes, to do more speaking, but also some more collaborations. And I'm very open to whatever that can look like.
Okay. The other thing that comes to mind is what is similar? Your
Hmm.
topic and what is similar. So
Mhm.
you said we have more agency over how we die than we actually believe. Where else in our lives do we actually have more agency than we think?
Um, I'm just thinking like finances.
Okay. Finances.
It does require education, and we can that like our health in general.
Mm.
I could be missing the boat here if there's something specific you're looking for. I'm not sure.
What I'm thinking of is for a way for you to be sharing your information,
Okay.
but not necessarily like what are the lessons from dying better that can be
Mhm.
used in another industry? so that you're actually mentioning, like, here are the similarities between finances and dying. Like,
Oh,
how can we apply the lessons in this one area to another area? Because here's what I'm thinking, a meeting planner, they're looking at your application, they'll be like, why would we bring in somebody to talk about dying? We are let's just say it's a health conference. But
mhm,
you've got this talk that actually brings the two together. Here's what I
mhm.
learned from this moment of our lives and how we can use these lessons in so many other areas. So, what it would do is it would introduce your topic to more audiences. And it's almost like you're getting in there like through the back door.
Okay,
Does that make
okay.
sense?
It does make sense, and never thought about it that way, but this is why I knew it was just a good time. I knew it was good to talk to you. These are really good questions. I'm just thinking. And, as I think about this, one of my best live streams was with a group who, it's a travel group who all travel to Hawaii. Most of them are retirees, but that was a very successful live stream that I did with them. And it only came up because the person who ran it just had some of his clients have shared that they have a ill family member or, getting older kind of
Mhm.
stories. So this is why when I think, and I'm just kind of thinking out loud, when I think of this topic in particular, one thing that always made me interested in it is because I really feel like it makes us remember that we're all the same, even though we're all individual. And that's where I think we're all so special because we have our own individual things, quirks, whatever it is. But we are all the same because this is like nothing levels the playing field better than death. So there's this huge common ground where I think we become more united. And so these are really good questions. If you have obviously feedback for me, of course, I'm going to take it all. And I'd love to hear it, but I do need to really think about another industry. I don't have a good answer for you right now, but I will definitely think.
So, so I'm going to share with you a couple of industries that are known for education.
Okay.
And one happens to be finance.
Okay.
Insurance, banking, financial planning, and financial planning, I'm just thinking of,
Mhm.
yeah, it might be with some retirees, but these are things that I think we avoid talking about.
Mhm.
We avoid talking about death. But what is one of the lessons that is either in your book or that you speak about that we can sort of riff on a little bit here?
Um, there's so many. The one that just comes up to mind because we have this avoidance issue is I always like to say, if you're afraid of death, you're very healthy. That shows me that you're very healthy. And that's a natural thing to fear death. Our bodies will fear death. They're programmed to survive. Our brain is always programmed to survive. We're programmed to eat 2 to 3, depending on, sometimes I eat 5 times a day. We're programmed because we don't want to starve to death. We're programmed to drink because if we don't drink, we have these drives to eat and drink, to sleep, to reproduce, to keep the line going. So our bodies, even though we've advanced so much spiritually in all these other ways, holistically, however it is that you want to refer to it, we're still working with and living in a biological body that is designed for survival. So I
Yes.
like to normalize these emotions, especially fear. And this is why we're so reluctant. One reason why we're so reluctant to even want to talk about death and even want to bring it into conversation and even like, just not today, just not today. We don't want to deal with it.
Which in the world of finance and insurance, this is something that they are like the salespeople are constantly battling with. It's the one day. Like people, I heard some research recently about how people don't like to look that far ahead. which
Mm,
is why it's just like, "Oh, I'll just have the piece of cake now because I really want it
yes.
now, and I don't really wanna put it off." Like, "Yeah, yeah, yeah, I'll go to the gym later." Like,
Mm,
I'll start on Monday." Like,
mm,
there's that avoidance of, I don't wanna be uncomfortable.
mhm,
I mean, that avoidance of planning for retirement, planning your funeral. I mean, I know people
mhm,
who have, like, because, and it's a great gift to give your family to do something like that. But what other areas of our lives are we constantly avoiding? We
mhm,
avoid the difficult conversations.
mhm.
Our
In a
bodies,
relationship.
yes, in relationships, and our body's intuitive nature to always want to be, um, in pleasure, in a good situation, in sunshine versus rain.
And familiarity, even if it's
Um,
not great for us.
yeah. So end of life is just another day.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like, it's literally like our body doing what it's supposed to do. We're afraid of the unknown. We're afraid
Mhm,
of if we quit our corporate job and go start our entrepreneurial dream.
mhm.
There are so many lessons. So do you see what I'm saying? Like, there is a way for you to get in through the back door.
Amazing.
Because a meeting planner is going to be thinking, is this a topic that my audience, like, their job is to get butts in seats.
Right.
So for you to be able to draw that line from their organization, their industry, and you can make that line to, it's the same thing about planning your death. You're planning your retirement, you're planning for college, you're planning your family, you're planning a death. You have more agency than you believe that you have. And I'm sure that you could come up with lots of really fun stats. I mean, what's the percentage of people that die suddenly, like in the middle of the night, that die young versus die old? I mean, there's got to be so many stats that would even be startling. Like, oh, I didn't know that.
There are so many, and I think one of the biggest misconceptions is that if you need CPR, you're going to wake up and be okay. And that is so far from the truth because CPR, when once you initiate CPR, your body is already clinically dead. And people don't always make that connection. You've already died. So now you're doing some measures, which depending on the body, I'm not saying, for someone who's healthy, resilient, without any disease, yes, it's definitely worth it. But somebody who is older already had some existing conditions that have really deteriorated their way of life and their quality of life, their dignity, they're not really going to have a lot of life after the CPR
Right.
couple. So yeah,
Right.
just
Right.
Mhm.
This sort of reminds me of once I got booked, um, by a local chamber to come and speak at their women's conference. Now, because they reached out to me, we heard about you, Laurie-Ann. I assumed
Okay.
they knew what I spoke on, which was
Okay.
leadership at the time. And then as soon as I agreed to speak after we, like, I went through all my questions, they said, "Great, we want you to talk on work-life balance." Yes. Like, integrity is one of my highest values, so here it was. I just agreed to this, and they're now telling me what they want me to speak on. So I literally started it with work-life balance, and my goal was that that audience would know that I spoke about leadership, and that's what I did. So
Mhm.
that's what I mean, there is a way for you to come in through the back door and just make the correlation to death.
Okay.
Because this is the gift that you are giving people, is, like, for them to think about it now
Mhm.
so that their wishes are granted, especially if they're in a situation where their health is deteriorating fast. I lost my first husband, and he was like, "I am not dying in a hospital." He
Mm.
wanted to be at home, and so he literally died in the other room from here.
That is one of the most compassionate things you can do for somebody. That's amazing.
Yeah, and I would say that I learned in that moment that death is as beautiful as life.
It's about life. It's definitely a
Yeah.
valid way. That's it
Yeah.
does. Because if we didn't, and I would like to play this scenario of just imagine if we didn't have death, just imagine if we never had it. And so would there be any finality? How would we behave already? We already don't really have a lot of reverence for our moments. We kind of go do our regular thing, just kind of go through the motions already until something happens where that drives us into the present moment, maybe like a death or an illness or some other tragedy. So then if we didn't have death, I mean, can you just imagine how next things would be? I mean, already, the world I know is doing other things, but you
Yeah,
know,
but it's true. Without death, we don't appreciate life.
right.
Without the nighttime, we don't appreciate the sunshine.
Mhm,
That's why there's polar opposites of
mhm.
everything.
Yep,
We don't
without them
appreciate
stopping.
the nice people without the mean people.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. There's so many different directions now that we're like really having this conversation that I can see so many different areas for you to be
Mhm.
going in. And I know that you wanted a topic for your signature speech.
Yeah.
It's got to be on death,
Mhm.
but it can be on the polarity. That way, I just want you to get into more organizations to spread your word, and
Okay.
your job is to be outstanding on the stage.
Yeah.
Because when you're outstanding, that's
Mhm.
what gets people talking about you. That's the 3 R's. We want the audience remembering you, raving
Mhm.
about you, and referring you.
Yeah. Mhm.
And I really do think that if you can add some humor into this, if you can get people laughing, because in the speaking
Mhm.
world, we say the more they laugh, the more money you make.
Yeah, I believe in humor. Think I always had that, and then even when I was working, and it wasn't just the nurse's jaded sense of humor. There is a sense of humor around this whole thing, especially when your point of reference is death. And which is why I have even a character for death, instead of the guy in the long robe. I kind of described her more in the book, but she's more of this really cool auntie who knows everything. And you don't really know what she does in her life abroad somewhere. She's that one aunt that can live, you know, abroad. You don't really know. And so so I even do like little comedy and stuff with her. But I I really like to look at death as something that is um that's almost kind of one of our guidance or guardians, and I even see death. I'm kind of going into my I even see death as a phase in our being. So I'm not saying no, everyone should think that way. I'd like to just kind of put these things out because just to maybe consider your relationship with death could be like. So
Yeah.
anyway, just had to throw that in because
Thank you.
I'm really passionate about that part too.
Thank you. And you have an important message.
Mhm.
Like I see it having, helped my husband during his last days, last hours, when there's so many people who don't have that opportunity that I had. I mean, that was really special. A car accident would have taken that away from me.
Mhm.
I had that opportunity to speak to him and to help him prepare for that. You know, um, so lots of different avenues for you to be going down. This isn't as narrow as I think you might have thought at first. I think that this is like there are so many people that you can help.
Okay. Yeah, I'll take it. I just appreciate your time.
Yeah. So I'm curious, and I should have asked you this in the beginning. What put you on this path?
Right, the whole death thing and the nursing thing.
Hmm. Yes.
Uh, I I always was a little bit interested in it, not in a disturbed way or anything like that. My parents were a little worried, maybe, just a little bit. And I did have a kind of some experiences, but overall, I, for me, I see the humanness in people. So even with patients or with people who are older, I love this human part of us that's mortal because to me, it remembers the person within this body, this being within this body. And it just reminds me over and over to not take away from that person that is either getting older, losing function, lost a limb, whatever it may be, looks different, sounds different, whatever it is. And I just feel like I'm more connected to this world because we're all so similar, that we share that. We're also connected with this thing that makes us human and mortal.
Yeah.
So that's really kind of always been my interest level. And I just feel like it's so grounding. So I just
So
really,
interesting. So interesting. So, Miss Abigail, what 2 or 3 gold nuggets that you are walking away with today?
I am walking away with a little bit of a different approach, not a little bit, a different approach to how I can speak to my audiences and people who could possibly benefit from, this type of education. So, and the way you were able to make some connections for me, I felt was just very paramount.
Mhm.
And secondly, to just consider expanding, I think my aperture a little bit more on this, which I think kind of is very much my first point, because it's so easy to go down to, well, let's just look at a certain age group or um, illness group or something. But there's so much more. Just like when I had that example with the live stream with the travel group, for example. So I just am very appreciative of this time and thank you for being so generous and giving your time and your knowledge and expertise.
Oh,
Yeah.
you are welcome. So, where can people find you, learn from you, and even get your book?
Yeah. So my website is nurseabigailD.com. It might be a little easier to remember diebetterbook.com. It's the same website. And all there, you can subscribe to my newsletter. You can scroll down and you can get on my YouTube channel, all my social media, my podcast, which is Die Better Podcast. So you can get access to all of those. And I am available for questions, whatever. So I love any questions from whoever it is that contacts me and love to connect with people. So, yes.
Wonderful, wonderful. So I think that everybody should definitely go stalk your website, your social media, because eventually, it's going to happen. Like we are all going to die, but we get to decide how we are going to live from this day until
Mhm.
that unknown day. So
Yes.
thank you so much, Abigail, for coming on. And if you would like to schedule your very own speaker breakthrough session, stick around. Are you tired of hearing crickets on social media? Wondering where to get seen by the right people? Or frustrated with the growth of your business? Then the Speaker Breakthrough Session is just for you. During this free 20-minute discovery call, I'll help you recognize where you're leaving money and opportunity on the table. You'll walk away with tips and a strategy to leverage speaking opportunities to get positioned as the expert, visible to the right people, and monetize your expertise. Book your call at speakandstandout.com/SBS for Speaker Breakthrough Session.